Right now on Morning News Now, it's finally here, primary day in New Hampshire. We're on the ground as voters are set to head to the polls in what has become a two-person race. We've got the results in overnight from the town of Dixville Notch, the tiny mountain village that's the first to cast its ballots, as Nikki Haley tries to pull the upset against her former boss, Donald Trump. Also this morning, a growing legal battle in Georgia. The district attorney prosecuting former President Trump is under fire over an alleged improper relationship with the prosecutor she hired for Trump's case. How she's responding and what it could mean for the case against Trump. Also, the battle at the border over razor wire installed by Texas. We're digging into the new ruling from the Supreme Court and what it could mean for future legal fights along the southern border. And the Detroit Lions just one game away from their first ever Super Bowl. But as the buzz in the Motor City reaches a fever pitch, America's big three car companies are pumping the brakes on ads in the big game. We will explain why.
We're at that period where we're going to start to see the ads before the game, which always confuses me a little bit.
Yeah, you're like, isn't that kind of not the point?
But I like watching them during the game as well.
Also, it's almost Super Bowl. Wow.
Exactly. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for being here. We're going to begin this morning with the race for the White House today. Voters in the Granite State will head to the polls and cast their ballots in the first in the nation primary.
The Republican primary is now down to a two-person race between former President Donald Trump and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. The former South Carolina governor is trailing in the polls, but looking to shrink that gap, especially after Florida Governor Ron DeSantis dropped out of the race on Sunday. As for Trump, the former president won the first big contest last week, the Iowa caucuses, cementing his status as the frontrunner for the GOP nomination. Haley came in third place, 2 points behind DeSantis.
We have our first results in already from New Hampshire. Voters in the town of Dixville Notch cast their ballots just after midnight. All 6 registered voters cast their ballots for Nikki Haley. The community has a tradition of first-in-the-nation voting that dates back to 1960.
For more on what we can expect today, we're joined by NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray and NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. Let's begin, though, with NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns, who joins us now from Goffstown, New Hampshire. Dasha, good morning. So the candidates have spent really the last week touring the Granite State, looking to gain support ahead of the primary. It is an uphill climb for Nikki Haley. So what was her final message to voters ahead of today's vote, and what can we expect from the candidates today?
Well, Joe, the polls just opened here in Goffstown. Voters already making their choices. And in the live free or die state of New Hampshire, it is do or die for Nikki Haley. This is her absolute best chance at trying to stop Donald Trump's march to the nomination. But as you said, it is an uphill climb. She's been barnstorming the state, holding 5+ events every day, retail stops and rallies. And in a change of strategy, she's been gaggling with reporters, which is something that was rare for her previously. And she's been trying to make that contrast between her and the former president. Some of her favorite lines are comparing the chaos of the Trump world to the sort of more traditional Republican platform that she has. And she's been calling for new generational leadership and starting to call into question his mental competency, really starting to sharpen her tone on former President Trump in these final hours. Take a listen to some of her closing message.
So what I will say to Donald Trump is, if you have that political elite, you can have them. Because that's never who I wanted to work for. I always wanted to serve the people. But I'll say this, if you've got to lie to win, you don't deserve to win. It's that simple.
And you'll get more into this with John and Mark, but she is hoping to capture that independent, that moderate vote here in New Hampshire. And because of that, you know, we've seen the polling, but it can be unpredictable because we just don't know how many of those independents are going to show up, choose a Republican ballot and cast their vote for Nikki Haley. But given Ron DeSantis dropped out and endorsed former President Trump, that does make that hill a little steeper for Haley.
Absolutely. John, let's bring you in now. Former President Trump, he's been spending some time on the campaign trail in New Hampshire this past week. Also, though, balancing those days in court as well. What is the state of the Trump campaign heading into today's vote?
I mean, the state of the Trump campaign right now, at least as far as the primary goes, is that they're in a very good mood. They can read the polls, not only, and I think Mark will talk a little bit about this, not only does Trump have a big lead, but the tracking polls show that growing over the course of this week. Former President Trump is talking about unity in the Republican Party, which has a dual purpose. One is to try to make it hard for Nikki Haley to attack him. If she attacks him, she is then attacking unity in the Republican Party, and also an attempt to pivot to the general election and try not to spend any more money dispatching of his last remaining foe. So they're in a pretty good mood. I think they understand that if they win New Hampshire, Dasha was talking about an uphill mountain for Nikki Haley, that becomes not a little hill, but more like Mount Everest for her.
Yeah, so Mark, let's talk about the polls. We know Mr. Trump has maintained a lead in the polls for months, even in New Hampshire, which is more independent-minded. What can you tell us about some of the final polling data as voters head to the ballot box today? What's standing out? Has anything changed in the closing days?
Yeah, Joe, over the course of the past week, Donald Trump has maintained a consistent double-digit lead in all of the polls. And in fact, according to that Suffolk tracking poll, his lead has actually increased over Nikki Haley over the past week. What the good news for her is that she leads among those independent voters that Dasha was just talking about. They make up the largest share of voters in the New Hampshire electorate, and she's been leading them by about 15, 20 points or so. The bad news for her is that Donald Trump's lead among registered Republicans, the other half or more of the electorate, is backing him by a greater share. And so for Haley to be able to pull off the upset tonight, given that her being behind in the polls, she's got to win those independent voters by a wider margin than Donald Trump ends up winning registered Republicans. And right now, the polling, as John ended up mentioning, that makes it seem like a very uphill climb, but we'll have to wait and see what happens tonight.
Mark, quick question. Just historically, how good is polling in New Hampshire? Does it tend to capture what's going to happen, or does that independent streak come out in maybe unpredictable ways sometimes?
Joe, it's difficult, and not only trying to get the independent versus Republican share right, but also it's important to note that so many events end up happening as you get to the New Hampshire primary. You just have the concluded Iowa caucuses. You have candidates start dropping out. There is a lot of volatility, but the polls heading into tonight have showed a consistent story, and that is Donald Trump ahead.
All right. Mark, John, Dasha, thank you all for kicking us off this hour. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, this fall, we could see our first presidential rematch in the general election since the 1950s, when Dwight Eisenhower and Adlai Stevenson faced off twice. But as NBC News chief political analyst Chuck Todd explains, voters in New Hampshire are not excited about another showdown between Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
Across New Hampshire, voters are feeling fed up.
I just don't understand where my party is right now.
Reed and Nancy Panicetti have lived and voted in Amherst for 25 years.
This is one of the first ones that I can really recall there's a winner being crowned before the race has happened.
All of a sudden, you feel like, oh my God, the race could end here.
Yes, but hopefully not.
Nancy, like nearly 40% of New Hampshire voters, is an independent. In this state, independents outnumber Democrats and Republicans, like her husband Reed. They are both desperate for something new.
I will always be a Republican, but I am slowly losing my party, and I want to know how I can get it back.
Are you ready to accept this binary choice of Trump versus Biden, or are you hopeful something else happens?
Still hopeful.
What is that? What are you hoping for?
That it's not Donald Trump.
With so many New Hampshire independent voters dreading the idea of a Biden-Trump rematch, some are holding out hope for a viable third party or independent challenger.
The Democratic Party has become far too liberal for me. The Republican Party has become far too conservative.
In Milford, New Hampshire, independent Kathy Carson feels politically homeless.
I'm open to a third party candidate.
You want to kick the tires on a third candidate, see if there's something there.
If Biden and Trump are my choices, yeah.
That frustration with this year's political offerings is echoed at Yankee Bowling Lanes in Manchester.
I can't pull the lever for somebody that I don't believe in.
You would like new people.
New people, fresh minds, fresh ideas.
That's the best we got. Come on now.
But amidst the political despair, we did still find some hope.
Would you describe our politics as broken?
Misled.
It's not broken. This is what democracy is about.
That's what democracy is about.
It's just kind of off track a little bit.
Yeah.
We just need to bring it back on track.
I like it. You got a little bit of optimism.
You have to. You have to.
Chuck Todd, NBC News, Manchester, New Hampshire.
And we will have live coverage from New Hampshire throughout the day here on NBC News Now. Don't go anywhere. And a programming reminder, we will bring you the results as they come in. Our colleagues Kristen Welker, Tom Yamas, and Hallie Jackson will break down the race. Our primary night coverage begins tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific.
Let's turn to the growing legal battle in Georgia. The district attorney who's prosecuting former President Trump for alleged election interference is now facing questions of her own. It all centers on an alleged relationship with a special prosecutor who she appointed in that case. NBC News correspondent Blaine Alexander explains.
She is one of the nation's most recognizable local prosecutors, charging former President Donald Trump and 18 others with election interference in Georgia. But Fulton County DA Fani Willis is facing a separate court battle of her own, involving allegations she financially benefited from a romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, a high-profile member of the team prosecuting Trump. Willis is now fighting a subpoena to testify in Wade's divorce proceeding. A judge ordered those divorce records unsealed. It all stems from a bombshell court filing by Trump co-defendant Michael Roman, questioning the process by which Willis hired Wade and alleging Wade used money earned from the DA's office to fund vacations with Willis without providing direct evidence. A separate filing by lawyers for Wade's estranged wife included credit card records showing Wade purchased airline tickets for himself and Willis to travel together. All of it is giving new fuel to critics of the Georgia election interference case.
These are corrupt people.
Willis has not responded to the allegations, but appeared to defend Wade while speaking at a recent Martin Luther King Day celebration.
I appointed 3 special counsel, as is my right to do. They only attacked 1.
Meanwhile, Willis called the subpoena an attempt to harass her. How do you respond to her allegations?
It wouldn't matter who she is and what position she holds. If she's having an affair with my client's husband and he's spending my client's money on that relationship, I'm going to find out about it.
And a judge has given Willis until February 2nd to respond to those allegations in a written court filing. Her office tells us she plans to do so. Back to you.
All right, Blaine, thank you.
For more on this, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Danny, always good to have you with us. So let's start right there. She's saying that this is this attempt to harass her. She is fighting the subpoena to testify in divorce proceedings. Under what circumstances might she get out of testifying?
Here's her argument. The parties, the husband and wife, already determined that their marriage was irretrievably broken. So therefore, Fani Willis doesn't have any interesting evidence to add because the issue of the divorce is already resolved. I think that's a long shot. I think I'm going to let you in on a little secret of the rules of evidence. Even if they argue irrelevance, it really comes down to a judge saying, do I really find this super interesting and would I like to hear more? And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think Fani Willis is going to be able to quash this subpoena or stop any further public discovery in this case.
So the big picture here, the thing that is getting most of our attention, what could this do to the Georgia election interference case? In a way, could this just derail that whole case?
It could. Now, this has been framed as basically a motion to dismiss the prosecution because the prosecutors may or may not be running around and dating. And that's not exactly accurate. It's really a two-pronged motion. And the main prong is far bigger a threat to this prosecution. It goes like this. The special prosecutor is a private citizen who was brought on and hired. And the argument is that he was not appointed properly. And if he wasn't appointed properly, then the indictment itself is fatally flawed. As a motive piece of evidence, the motion then adds, if not dismissed, then these 2 prosecutors should be disqualified because of this appearance of impropriety. So it's really a two-pronged motion. Either prong could really derail. Obviously, if the indictment's dismissed, end of case. But if you fire or get rid of these 2 prosecutors or even the entire DA's office, that could completely derail this case without officially dismissing it.
Danny, if we could switch gears here in New York, the E. Jean Carroll defamation damages case that we're watching. It was postponed because of some COVID concerns. Was supposed to get back underway yesterday. Does the delay change anything? What are you going to be looking for when it does come back?
No delay is going to change much in this case because this is going to move lightning fast compared to every other Donald Trump case. And that's because the issues have been narrowed to really a pinhole of facts that come in this case. It's really just about damages and punitive damages. So Donald Trump's bad behavior is relevant. Don't be surprised if Donald Trump has been floating the idea that he would testify, and then he changes his mind because by doing so, he's sent the other side into burning all their resources, staying up all weekend, preparing for cross-examination. I will neither confirm nor deny that I have done something similar myself in cases. Lawyers do it all the time. It's strategy. But if he does testify, he really runs the risk of drawing the ire of a judge who has no sense of humor about contempt.
Danny Savalos, thank you very much.
In a victory for the Biden administration, the Supreme Court ruled that Border Patrol agents can remove razor wire put in place along a stretch of the southern border in Texas.
Yeah, the wire installed near the Rio Grande River is the latest effort from Texas Governor Greg Abbott to prevent migrants from entering the country illegally. The Supreme Court's narrowly divided ruling came after an emergency request from the Biden administration that argued the wire was endangering migrants while preventing law enforcement from patrolling the area.
NBC News Supreme Court reporter Lawrence Hurley joins us now with more on this. Lawrence, good morning. So first, tell us how the Supreme Court ruled, and it's a short order, but what do you believe went into their decision?
Sure. So good morning to everyone. This is an interesting case because we don't really know, the reasoning behind what the court did. There's no description of the grounds on which they ruled. There's no description on why the 4 justices who dissented disagreed with the ruling. What we know is the arguments that were made, which is the Biden administration saying immigration is a basic federal function. The state doesn't have a role in this. The state can't stop Border Patrol agents from carrying out their duties. Whereas the state was saying this was basically trespass. The Border Patrol was going on private land, cutting through property that wasn't theirs. And that under Texas law, that's trespass. And they wanted to stop them from doing that.
Following the ruling, what were the reactions from both the state and the Biden administration?
Well, as you can imagine, it's hard to separate the politics from the law. And, kind of predictably, the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was saying, this is just another example of the Biden administration's policy of open borders and encouraging illegal immigration, whereas the Biden administration is saying, this is just a basic attempt to allow the Border Patrol to do their jobs, and the state doesn't have any role in that. And of course, Republicans more broadly are supporting Texas because they see this as a sort of wedge issue heading into the election this year.
So let's talk about the impact of this. We know there are a lot of battles right now between the White House and Texas. This ruling, could it have an impact on future legal battles along the border, or is it very specific to this one issue they addressed here?
Well, there may be a little bit of overlap here, just because, what you do have is a Supreme Court decision now on a 5-4 vote saying that the court is recognizing the federal government's, supremacy, as it were, over immigration issues, which is a long-standing tradition. And so, that might mean Texas has struggles with some other cases like this that come up if the court's going to kind of endorse that broader theory, even though in specific cases, that might not hold true. But I think we'll wait to see on that one.
Yeah, for example, there was also this case going on, the buoys that were placed in the Rio Grande to also prevent those crossings, part of this immigration enforcement plan that's called Operation Lone Star. The Biden administration had sued the state for that as well. Where do things stand with that case?
Again, that's another one where there's a lot of litigation going on, and it's kind of gone back and forth, where initially courts said that the buoys had to be removed, but just last week an appeals court, federal appeals court, said it was going to rehear that case, and so in the meantime the buoys can remain. So that's another battle which quite clearly could end up at the Supreme Court as well at some point.
All right, Lawrence Hurley, good to have you with us this morning. Thank you.
Well, a state of emergency has been declared in San Diego after the 3rd storm in 4 days brought flash floods and extreme rains on Monday. Look at this. It was the scene as residents scrambled to find shelter yesterday. There were no reports of injuries or deaths, though, as a result of the flash flooding. According to the National Weather Service, it was the wettest January day on record in San Diego. Thankfully, experts say this is likely the last storm of its size to hit the region during the rainy season.
Let's get the latest on the forecast with NBC meteorologist Bill Cairns.
He is tracking everything for us this morning. Hi, Bill. Good morning. Great to have you here with us.
Hey, great to see you guys. And that San Diego stuff was wild. So in 6 hours, they had almost 3 inches of rain. To put that in kind of perspective, that's a quarter of their yearly rainfall in 6 hours. So that's why it was so extreme flooding. I mean, that would have been flooding almost anywhere in the country, especially Southern California, though. So this weather map looks like a little kid's been sitting here coloring it in all different sorts of markers and colors. And all that means to me is that we have a lot of winter weather out there. We have ice, we got sleet, we got snow, we got rain, and it's just a mess from Chicago to Detroit and now starting to spread through Pennsylvania and western New York. That's why we have winter weather advisories up for 54 million people because of this wintry mix. This is not a big ice storm. It's not a big snowstorm, but just a little glaze of ice. Probably has a lot of school delays throughout the northern Indiana, Ohio, southern Michigan, and we could even get some early dismissals out of this if this ice glaze happens around Scranton, Binghamton, the southern tier of New York. And this is where our computers are pinpointing the heaviest amounts of icing during the day today, just north of State College, the southern tier of New York heading into the Catskills, a little bit here through Connecticut, too. Not enough for power outages, just some icy roads and untreated surfaces. Not a lot of snow out of this either. Some in Michigan, about an inch. That's everywhere in white has a chance of about an inch of snow, including areas of northern Connecticut and New Hampshire. Now, New Hampshire is not going to be, by their standards, a big deal. This is going to be late this afternoon through this evening, where we're going to see some areas of light snow, especially the southern half of the state, maybe an inch at most. Notice all the bigger cities here, Lebanon, Woodstock, Conway, Manchester, all well above freezing. So for that reason, we're thinking this will not affect turnout whatsoever throughout the region. So for the forecast for today, foggy in the middle of the plains, very foggy. So careful traveling there. That rain is going to break out later on today throughout areas of Texas into Louisiana and eventually into Alabama and Mississippi. Flood threat in these areas. It rained hard yesterday. Another 2 to 4 inches tonight could cause some real flash flood problems. And then rainy weather where it's been icy later today. So that'll help out. And then finally, our forecast for your Wednesday. We are going to be watching temperatures kind of borderline once again in areas here throughout the Midwest. So we could see a little bit more of icy weather throughout areas from, I'd say, anywhere from Milwaukee back down through Iowa. In the Northeast, the big warm-up is on the way. I know you guys have been waiting for it. It does look like it. No?
I like it.
You liked it
like
when
winter.
it was wind chill of 0?
Yeah,
you were out there like,
you were like, and I like the snow, and I just want winter to feel like winter. And isn't a bunch of rain coming with that? Ugh.
Yeah.
So you'd rather cold than rain?
But it's after the rain we get the kind of a warm up, right? The rain comes through and then
a little bit of
like a little bit of warm. Okay.
Yeah, doesn't that sound?
I know Savannah, and then all of a sudden she surprises me.
I also just like, when you are complaining about your shoveling and just.
I haven't complained a lot in the last 2 years.
Exactly.
Hasn't snowed.
I know. It's been scary.
Perfect.
All right, Phil, we'll see in a little bit. Thank you. Coming up, the Biden administration is taking new initiatives to protect abortion rights. We're digging into the president's plan and the reaction from Capitol Hill up next.
But first, a new proposal from Israel to try and free hostages taken by Hamas, what we know about that potential deal, and the new wave of U.S. and U.K. airstrikes against Iranian-backed Houthi militants in Yemen.
Welcome back. The United States and Britain have carried out a new wave of airstrikes on Yemen's Houthi rebels as the war in Gaza continues to spill over to other parts of the Middle East. The Pentagon said it targeted underground storage and missile sites, which it says the Houthis used to target Red Sea shipping. NBC's Raf Sanchez has more from Tel Aviv.
Guys, good morning. This is the biggest wave of strikes in Yemen in more than 10 days. It involved both U.S. and U.K. warplanes and cruise missiles. The question, though, will this actually be enough to stop the Houthi attacks? U.S. Navy fighter jets leading a major new wave of joint American and British airstrikes against Iranian-backed Houthi militants in Yemen. The attacks targeting missiles, radar sites, and weapons depots, according to U.S. Central Command. It's the 8th time Western forces have struck in Yemen in response to months of Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, which are threatening to hold up global shipping. The U.S. and U.K. saying, we will not hesitate to defend lives and the free flow of commerce. But so far, the strikes failing to deter the Houthis, who say their attacks will continue until the war in Gaza ends. That doesn't look likely anytime soon. Israel's military saying this morning it's encircled the city of Han Yunis, sending thousands of Palestinian civilians fleeing further south in hope of safety. But Israel also reeling from news 21 troops were killed in an explosion yesterday its single greatest loss of the war. Prime Minister Netanyahu saying, on behalf of our heroes, we will not stop fighting until total victory. But two Israeli officials tell NBC News they've offered Hamas a 2-month pause in the fighting in exchange for the release of the remaining hostages. Families of those hostages storming a parliamentary committee yesterday, demanding action from their government. You will not sit here while our children die, this father shouts. Among the protesters, Gil Dickman, whose cousin Carmel is still a hostage. If you could speak to her now, what would you tell her?
I'd say, Carmeli, I'm so sorry it took us such a long time. I really want this to end. We all want this to end, but we're coming for you.
And every day, just agony for those families. In terms of the negotiations, despite that new proposal from Israel, the two sides remain very far apart. Hamas says no hostages will be released until the war ends. Israel says the war will not end until Hamas is destroyed. And those mediators in Qatar say they're trying to bridge the gap. Guys.
All right, Raf, thank you very much. Well, Dexter Scott King, the youngest son of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., has died at the age of 62 after battling prostate cancer. Dexter was named after the church where his father first served as a pastor and went on to work as a longtime chairman of the King Center and as president of the King Estate.
He devoted much of his life to protecting the intellectual property of the iconic civil rights leader. In a statement, his wife said that he passed away peacefully in his sleep at their home in Malibu, California. Coming up, new efforts from the Biden administration on abortion.
The new access measures announced on the 51st anniversary of the Roe v. Wade ruling and what they could mean for women around the country. Stay with us.
Welcome back. On Monday, the Biden administration announced new initiatives to try to protect Americans' access to reproductive health care. The new plans include expanded coverage of FDA-approved contraceptives under the Affordable Care Act, also steps to increase awareness about access to emergency medical care.
The news of these steps was unveiled on the day marking the 51st anniversary of the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision protecting abortion access. Speaking to his task force on reproductive health care, the president slammed the overturning of the decision and reiterated his call for Congress to pass abortion access protections.
But then a year and a half ago, this Supreme Court made an extreme decision overturning Roe with their Dobbs decision to rip away a constitutional right from the American people, which had never been done before, a fundamental right ripped away, important to so many Americans. Stop playing politics of the women's lives and freedom. Let doctors do their job.
Joining us now for more is Chief White House Correspondent Peter Alexander. Peter, good morning. So I know we have breaking news really this morning. President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris expected to hit the stage today in Virginia as they campaign for abortion rights. What can we expect there?
Hey, Joe and Savannah, good morning to both of you. Yeah, this is a significant day. The potential that Donald Trump wins in New Hampshire means tomorrow could kick off a 286-day general election rematch between Biden and Trump. That would be the longest ever. And it's clear as a function of what we're going to see today that the White House views this abortion rights, reproductive rights as the key issue. President Biden will be on stage alongside the Vice President Kamala Harris and both of their spouses as well in Virginia. The first time all four principals will be together for a rally of this kind this election season. So it does show you the importance that they are putting on this right now. And it does, as you note, come after 2 years ago. The issue of Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court, thanks in large part to those three conservative justices that were put on the court by former President Trump. The former president very recently saying that he was proud of his role, the White House hoping to make an issue of his role in all of it, and certainly to help Americans and certainly American women recognize what's at stake here as well. Joe and Savannah.
So, Peter, this announcement of these new initiatives came as Vice President Kamala Harris traveled to Wisconsin to launch what's going to be a nationwide tour focused on reproductive freedom. What did we hear from her yesterday?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this is an issue that I think those close to the vice president say is one where she's really found her legs on the issue of reproductive rights. As you said, she was in Wisconsin just yesterday. She's been more outspoken on this issue than President Biden himself, who's been a bit reticent to speak about the issue more directly. Often when he doesn't even use the word abortion itself. But she is trying to put this in the lens of freedom and personal liberty. Here's part of what she said to the audience in Wisconsin yesterday. Listen.
The bottom line is, to truly protect reproductive freedoms, we must restore the protections of Roe. Because you see, what the United States Supreme Court took, Congress can put back in place.
Kamala Harris just yesterday in Wisconsin. She is going to be kicking off a national tour of sorts where she's going to be focusing heavily on this issue. It's an issue where those allies of Harris and Biden say the two of them really make a good pair on the issue. She's more outspoken about it. He has strong views on it as well, and they're hoping really to sort of capitalize on that in the course of the months ahead.
Peter, also tell us how Republicans been responding to this.
It's interesting how Republicans have responded to this. I wouldn't say that they're fearful, but they've certainly shied away from this issue, knowing that the more it's on the ballot, the more attention it gets, the more it serves as a backlash for Republicans' efforts in all sorts of states across the country. There are plenty of states right now that are trying to put initiatives on abortion on their ballots, hoping that will sort of amp up the turnout from Democratic voters come the general election this fall. Nikki Haley, we've heard from her in New Hampshire saying that she wants to try to find consensus on this issue. And as we noted before, the former president, likely the Republican nominee, if he has a good turnout tonight, as expected in New Hampshire. Donald Trump has said how proud he is about the role he played on this issue.
Peter, let's talk a little more about these new initiatives. What exactly more should we know about them? What does the Biden administration hope they accomplish?
Well, they're trying to put a little meat on the bone here, knowing that there's only so much they can do on these issues. There are a series of departments here in Washington, Treasury, Labor, HHS right now that have tried to give new guidance as it relates to this issue, specifically on expanded coverage for contraceptives that you can get at no cost under the Affordable Care Act, what's commonly known as Obamacare. There have been new educational efforts right now to try to inform patients of their rights as well. So those are some of the efforts as part of these initiatives. The White House trying to find the muscle where it can unilaterally, given the overturning of Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court. Joe and Savannah.
Peter Alexander, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Now it is time for our weekly mental health check-in. We are taking a closer look at how all that mindless doom scrolling during the pandemic might have impacted your brain.
Plus, many people included meditation as one of their New Year's resolutions, but sitting in silence can prove to be difficult for many so far. So we have tips to help try and break through.
Yeah, I can't do it. So hopefully licensed marriage and family therapist Dr. George James can help us out on this. Dr. James, always great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us. Let's start with social media and COVID. As we just mentioned, we've got some new research that shows teens spent this excessive amount of time on those platforms during the pandemic, and that led to this decline in mental health. Talk to us about what exactly that looks like, and importantly, if there's anything we can do to reverse those effects.
Yeah, good morning. For many of our teens, they had to deal with the pandemic and the shutdown by spending time on social media because they couldn't go out, they couldn't socialize, they couldn't be with their friends. And what happens with, just being on social media, we get this reward in our brain, release of dopamine that makes us want to go back over and over again, and it becomes overwhelming. And so we need a little bit of separation. And what we've seen for some of our teens is increased levels of anxiety and depression. Hopefully now they're socializing more and can get some breaks from social so that they can get back to where they used to be.
All right, let's talk about meditation, because for some people, sitting alone with your thoughts, trying to be mindful can be incredibly difficult, or maybe you have a day where you succeed at it, and then the next day it's just really hard. Your mind is wandering all over the place. There are a lot of upsides to having that uninterrupted alone time. So how can we all benefit from silence, and why is it so tough to do?
Taking those moments to have those silent time is so important because we can actually think through things, we can reflect, we can actually think about how we might feel. But what the mind does is that other thoughts come, thoughts that you might not want, even sometimes negative thoughts. One of the ways to do that is to have maybe a list of things you want to think through. So when those negative thoughts, you can go to something on that list or integrate it into time that you already have. Maybe you're going to go on for a walk or a run or something where you have time that's the way that you can focus and not have the negative thoughts overwhelm you.
What's your message to someone who is just trying to sit down, meditate, do that mindfulness, and they just can't get their mind to sort of do that?
Yes.
That blank thing that they're always thinking of something, thoughts pop into their head. What's the best way to handle that?
I once had a client that talked about focusing on blank paper. And the truth is, it takes practice. So if you don't get it right away, that's okay. That's actually very normal. Keep trying, keep going at it, and then eventually you'll get there. And if it's only 5 minutes, that's fine.
I swear it's the time where I come up with I'm like, are my dog's vaccines up to date? Like everything just comes up and now it's so interesting how when you're really trying, when you're focusing on it, it can become so hard. Dr. James, we also want to ask you about there's always a new trend on TikTok, but some of them, I think it's worth talking about, especially if they kind of use some of these mental health, mental illness types of terms. This one is called manic cleaning. People are recording themselves sort of frantically cleaning because they've got this burst of energy, but that word manic in there. I mean, there is such a thing as a true manic episode. Experts are saying this is not that. How do we spot the difference here? And what do you think about words like that finding their way into TikTok trends?
For a long time, we've used mental health phrases in our vernacular that sometimes has not been great. Like, I'm so OCD, which, folks, there actually are people who are dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. So when we talk about manic cleaning, the difference is folks who are experiencing mania, they might already have what's called bipolar disorder. And after mania is usually long periods of depression. So yes, you might have that burst of energy. You might feel some impulsiveness, but then it could be followed by some levels of depression. So the manic cleaning is not necessarily that. You just have some really great energy that you want to use purposefully, which is great. But maybe just say, like, I have a burst of energy instead of saying manic cleaning, because there are people who are experiencing that.
A cleaning burst.
Yeah, right. That's a little bit
productive.
Different. Doctor, does it concern you at all when you see terms like that, or people, like gaslighting, I know is a big one that kind of went around with people maybe not really understanding the definition. What impact does that have on people who are actually dealing with something and then care that they can receive?
I think it's two parts. I think there's people who are experiencing it that say, like, that doesn't fully represent my experience and that doesn't feel fair, and they feel like that shouldn't be used. And that is correct. I think on the second side, it allows for opportunities like this where we can actually inform the general public of what these things are so that they know what they're actually saying, instead of just picking up a trend and not actually paying attention to the true meaning of what they're saying.
All right, Dr. George James, thank you as always for joining us. We appreciate it. Coming up, this year's Super Bowl could see a historic pass, but probably not the one you're thinking of.
Yeah, some top car companies are passing on Super Bowl ads for the first time in decades. That's next. Welcome back. It's a tradition truly as old as the Super Bowl itself. Millions will watch America's biggest game next month. Yes, for the football, but also the commercials that come with it. And this year, though, you won't be seeing a handful of big brands. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans explains why the auto industry's big three is sitting this one out.
Just one game standing between the Detroit Lions and a trip to the Super Bowl this year.
That is arguably the best environment I've ever been in.
The city is buzzing on the momentum, a chance for the team's first ever appearance in the big game. But even if the Lions make it, there's a Motor City mainstay that won't be appearing. America's largest automakers. Of the big three, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, the parent company of brands like Chrysler and Jeep, confirming to NBC News that none will air an ad during the Super Bowl.
There's only one place to catch Roadrunner. At your Plymouth dealer.
The auto industry has had a long, storied history of spending millions to reach America's biggest TV audience on game day. From bringing in big stars.
Better get to the Grand Canyon before we do.
To hanging tight through recessions and bankruptcies.
This is the Motor City. And this is what we do.
So what's different this year? Stellantis telling NBC News it's trying to mitigate the impact of a challenging U.S. automotive market. You've got slowing consumer demand, high interest rates, and an industry recovering from big losses during last year's auto worker strike that cost the big three billions in lost production and revenue.
They're just kind of protecting themselves a little bit. So they're really kind of looking at the budgets, looking at their marketing expenses, and it's one of the first things that they've been cutting.
Car makers also spending big on a shift to the electric vehicle landscape. GM running this ad just last year.
General Motors is going electric.
U.S. manufacturers trying to catch up to Tesla, announcing tens of billions of dollars over the last few years in mass market EV investments. But now many cutting production as sales sag.
Until they have a mass adoption of EVs, it kind of seems like, do you really want to spend millions of dollars on EV advertising for the Super Bowl if you're not going to get the sales and the kind of return on investment?
And a Super Bowl spot is no cheap item. Variety reporting, according to people familiar with negotiations, that this year a 30-second spot during the game will run companies between $6.5 and $7 million. Those prices steadily rising over the last few years, even as linear TV is on the decline and viewers turn down to the screens in their hands. The number of TV viewers that advertisers reach per dollar spent on a downward trend for the past 3 decades, according to a Forbes analysis of Nielsen data.
This appears it's going to be one of the lower kind of profile Super Bowls for the automotive industry.
The big three sitting out the game as their city's team is surging, leaving an opening for international car makers like Kia and Volkswagen to step on the gas. Not slouches when it comes to Super Bowl ads passed. Christine Romans, NBC News.
What a great way to end it. Well, not in financial headlines. United Airlines is choosing to look onward and upward in 2024.
CNBC's Savannah Hanau joins us with that and other money headlines. Savannah, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Savannah. Good morning to you. Yeah, so United Airlines is upbeat about business in 2024, despite warning of a bigger than expected loss this quarter due to the grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX 9 jets. Now, United and Alaska Airlines, they account for 70% of the MAX 9 fleet. United, along with rivals Delta and American, they've benefited from a strong demand for premium travel following the pandemic, and it expects revenue from those more profitable premium offerings to stay robust and boost its profit outlook this year. Netflix says its film chief is leaving to start his own media company. Scott Stuber joined Netflix in 2017, overseeing its massive growth in producing and releasing original content, making it one of Hollywood's biggest studios. During his tenure, Netflix had its most popular movie ever. It was the action film Red Notice, as well as critically acclaimed movies such as Marriage Story and The Power of the Dog. So Netflix was the most nominated studio from 2020 to 2022 at the Academy Awards. And viral video king Mr. Beast recently took his talents to X to check how his earnings from a video would compare to how much he makes on YouTube. Jimmy Donaldson says he made more than $263,000 versus for his video $1 versus $100 million car. That attracted about 150 million views in 1 week. He initially posted the video on YouTube in September. However, Donaldson says the performance on X was a bit of a facade, saying his revenue per view is probably higher than what most content creators would get. X launched a program last year to give creators a share of ad revenue made from their posts, guys.
All right, very interesting. Savannah, thank you so much.
You got it.
Coming up, a TikToker has gained a massive following by being able to pinpoint people's locations with almost no information.
How he does it and why he says you should think twice before posting your location on social media, that is up next.
Welcome back. It's Oscar nomination morning, but we also want to take a look at what made the cut for the Razzies. That, of course, is short for the Golden Raspberry Awards, which are given out to the movies judged to be the worst of the past year. Leading the field with 7 nominations is the 4th Expendables movie starring Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham. Tied for 2nd place with 5 noms are The Exorcist Believer and Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. That is the slasher movie released after the copyright lapsed on Winnie the Pooh books. I I feel like that probably should win. I didn't see it. But finally, after a year where superhero movies struggled at the box office, two big budget examples each got 4 nominations: DC's Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Marvel's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Anyone can pay a fee and vote in the awards, with the winners announced the night before the Oscars. It's always felt a little mean-spirited to me, but maybe sometimes some people need to be held in check. Like, hey, you made a really bad movie.
I don't like the concept, but I am happy to know about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
That should win/lose, because that's a horrible idea.
It's kind of hilarious. All right, we're going to end this hour with a little monkey business.
TikToker Jose Monkey receives submissions from fans all over the world, and then he finds them, the people, using discrete clues in their videos. And now he's using his special talent to raise concerns about online safety. NBC News Digital reporter Maya Eaglin has that story.
Find me, Jose Monkey.
You asked me to figure out where this video was recorded, so I did. Hi, I'm Jose Monkey.
Jose Monkey is what's known as a geo-influencer.
So far, I've found people in 37 countries.
With over 1.6 million followers on TikTok, he's locating people who think they're being discreet online. But he likes to keep his own life to himself.
I try to keep relatively private, so I don't use my real name when posting videos. Where am I?
So someone sends you a video. Walk me through the steps of how you find their location.
I download the videos and look at them on a big screen, typically. It depends what I see, what kind of video it is, what resources I will use to find it. Sometimes it's very generic resources. Sometimes it's using store locators for, different businesses I see. As you exit the plane, the tail number is visible. I have used a site called Find a Grave.
Some videos take just a few minutes, others take hours, and every now and then he does get stumped.
Where am I, Jose Monkey? Guys, I don't know why I even tried to find this video. That there are a few different things that make it difficult. One is if there's really no writing whatsoever to look at in the video. It also depends if it's in an area where I recognize the businesses and their logos.
So I decided to put Jose Monkey to the test.
All right, Jose Monkey, let's see if you can find out where I am.
I did not find anything in the videos that you sent me that had readable writing on it. So that definitely made it difficult. And some of the buildings we see in the background kind of look a bit like New York, and I got just a glimpse of a red running track with like a field inside of it. I looked at the New York City Parks website. I was hoping that maybe I could see that red track from the satellite view. You're at the southwest corner of the Sarah D. Roosevelt Park.
Jose Monkey says he's making these videos to raise awareness about online safety in an entertaining way.
The privacy and safety concerns and like raising awareness has really always been an important motivator in what I'm doing.
Pew Research found that 77% of teens use social media every day. And one study from Susie Lampla Trust finding that 84% of respondents had experienced stalking online.
Definitely think about the things that you're sharing. Anyone who's trying to figure out other clues from the video, they're usually not even looking at that main subject of the video. They're looking at all of the things in the background.
Maya Eaglin, NBC News.
Important lesson there. My goodness.
Pretty impressive and pretty scary.
No kidding.
Something to think about.
Not as scary, though, as Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. All right, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News.
We need to watch it now that we've talked about it this much. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this Tuesday. And on a primary day, I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, it is primary day in America. In battleground New Hampshire, they're already heading to the polls this morning. The two remaining GOP candidates, former President Trump, former Ambassador Nikki Haley, making their final pushes for votes. Overnight, our first glimpse at how the state could swing, maybe. All 6 registered voters in small-town Dixville Notch casting their ballots for former Ambassador Haley. We've got full coverage this morning on what is to come. In the Middle East, what's thought to be the deadliest single attack on Israel's military since the war against Hamas began more than 100 days ago. More than 20 IDF troops killed in a Gaza assault yesterday. Comes as calls grow around the world for a ceasefire and the release of those remaining hostages held by Hamas. We'll bring you Israel's latest proposal to bring them home. Also this morning, the parents of a high-profile school shooter in Michigan are headed to trial. But what are the charges they're facing in this unusual case? And how could the trial shape future cases like it as America's gun violence crisis continues? And we'll end the hour in Hollywood and tell you which of the year's biggest blockbuster films, and some of the smaller films as well, are up for an Oscar as the nominations are revealed. Always look forward to Oscar nomination morning.
It's so exciting. And I've seen quite a few of them, so now I'm like, oh.
And then it tells you which ones you still need to see.
Yes, exactly.
You're like, oh, I didn't know about that.
I guess I should say I've seen quite a few that are in the conversation.
Exactly.
We'll find out what's actually nominated.
See if they make it. All right. We're going to, of course, begin this hour in New Hampshire, where voting is underway in the first in the nation primary.
Yeah, it could be a make or break moment for former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley as she looks to bridge the gap between her and former President Donald Trump in the now two-person race for the Republican nomination. It was a good start to the day for Haley overnight as she won the first votes coming out of Dixville Notch. The town is known for voting just after midnight on election days. This comes as the former president has his eyes set on the general election and a rematch against President Biden. NBC News senior Washington correspondent and News Now anchor Hallie Jackson kicks off our coverage from Bedford, New Hampshire.
Hey there, Joe and Savannah. Good morning to the both of you. This is it. This is the line here in Bedford, New Hampshire. You can see the early risers coming in, trying to get their ballots cast on this critical first-in-the-nation primary day. The town clerk expects maybe as many as 9,000 people, somewhere between 6,000 and 9,000, to show up here at this high school, where we'll take you inside. You can see everything is set up. Everything is ready to go. I'm going to sneak in this door here. We're told that undeclared voters here have the edge as far as registration, and those are exactly the voters that Nikki Haley would need to win over in what's seen as her last best chance to try to take on Donald Trump.
The first few ballots this morning officially tallied in New Hampshire. Tiny Dixville Notch overnight with 6 voters unanimously backing former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley in a race now down to 2 candidates. Former President Trump hoping for a show of GOP force alongside former primary rivals Tim Scott, Doug Burgum, and Vivek Ramaswamy. Ron DeSantis not on stage, but he has an open invitation, according to a Trump campaign official, after DeSantis dropped out of the race Sunday and endorsed the former president, who's already looking ahead to the general election.
You're going to put Crooked Joe and his protectors on notice that we are coming in November.
New polling shows him leading Haley by 19 points here.
So what does a good night look like?
I don't know. You know what? I like wins. You know, I don't like when people say, you're up by 4,762 points. And then if you win by 4,700, they say it's a gross failure.
For Haley today, pressure to prove she can stop or slow Mr. Trump's march to the GOP nomination in the one-on-one race her campaign has wanted. Haley making the case this is not a coronation with NBC's Ali Vitale.
Why should we assume, oh, this time we have to have Biden and Trump? That's not fair to the American people. More people deserve to be able to vote. And I'm going to give them that option.
Haley's campaigning with New Hampshire's popular Republican Governor Chris Sununu. To do well in this state, she'll have to win independents like Gary and Brenda Goodrow, both turned off by Mr. Trump. But Gary plans to vote for Chris Christie instead.
I realize people tell me I'm wasting my vote, but I have to look at myself in the mirror.
Brenda will write in President Biden's name, but new this morning, fallout over a robocall pretending to be from President Biden, urging people not to vote today.
What a bunch of malarkey.
That sounds like Joe Biden, but it's not, with the state's attorney general saying it appears to be artificially generated, calling it an attempt to suppress New Hampshire voters.
The White House confirms that that call was indeed fake. As for the Republican race here, I mean, listen, this is what we are going to see basically all day long here in New Hampshire. The polls will close later on tonight. And as always, it's a political cliche for a reason, but it comes down to turnout. Who shows up? Will it be that segment of independent voters that Nikki Haley wants to see? Or will former President Trump maintain what we've seen, which is that double-digit healthy polling lead? Joe, Savannah, back to you.
All right, Hallie Jackson, thank you very much.
For more on today's primaries, let's bring in Boston Globe senior national political reporter Jess Bidgood. Good to have you with us, Jess. So you spent a good amount of time, I know, covering the Haley campaign leading into today's primary. She spent the last week meeting voters in New Hampshire following that third-place finish in Iowa, but she feels like she might have a better chance here because New Hampshire is much more independent. What's standing out to you as she looks to find a path forward in this primary election and try to stay competitive?
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me. For weeks now, Nikki Haley has been saying she wants a two-person race with former President Trump, and guess what? She has it. If she is going to succeed in New Hampshire, though, it is not going to be with, the conservative Republicans who typically make up the primary base. It's going to be with those independents that Haley was talking about in that segment just now. So we've seen her kind of crisscrossing the state, trying to appeal to those voters. She's telling them a few different things. One thing that we've seen her doing a lot of in recent days is trying to tie Trump and Biden together, kind of trying to group them and tell voters these are figures who represent the past. She's suggesting they're too old. She's suggesting they're not fit for office. And she's depicting herself as the one candidate who is, who represents a future, who represents something new, who represents turning the page. And what really remains to be seen is basically the question of, will she bring on enough independent voters? Will she get enough independents to show up at the polls today and pull a Republican ballot and vote for her? And that could really be the question that determines how much longer this primary lasts for.
Let's talk about former President Trump and what we've seen from him. He's, of course, looking to win the Republican nomination for a third straight time, and we've continue to talk about his lead in the polls, but tell us about his strategy in the Granite State over the past week, especially as he's also balancing it with these court appearances. How is he separating himself from Nikki Haley? What have we seen from him on the ground?
Yeah, so Trump's approach to campaigning in New Hampshire has been unusual, to say the least. Yesterday was a good example of how things are just a little odd this year. He spent much of the day not in New Hampshire. He was in New York, where he had a brief court appearance, although most of those proceedings were delayed, and didn't get back to the state until a 9 p.m. rally. So that really left, the state to Nikki Haley to kind of crisscross and attempt to claim for herself. But when you are former President Trump, when everybody knows your name, knows who you are, and knows how they feel about you, arguably, you don't need to be on the ground quite so much, or at least that is the bet that Trump is making. When he is here, what we see him do is try to kind of flood the zone. Right now, he is trying to make it really lonely for Nikki Haley to be the final candidate running against him. He had a bunch of his former competitors in the race up on stage with him last night, as we just saw. One of those people was Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. Scott is somebody who Haley has helped in her career, but it was not in this moment Haley to whom he turned to support. It was Trump. Trump is really trying to show, as much of the party falling behind him as possible, as many elected officials falling behind him as possible, as many people specifically from South Carolina as possible, as he tries to telegraph a message that this race is already over. And that's a message that Haley is pushing very hard against.
All right. Jess Bidgood, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
For more on the state of the race, let's bring in NBC News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki. He is, of course, at the big board. Steve, always great to have you here. Thanks for joining us this morning. So, okay, this is this two-person race between Trump and Haley. Does the fact that Ron DeSantis, after, by the way, the second-place finish in Iowa, does the fact that he dropped out this week help Haley's chances at all?
It seems, at least based on the polling, it might be the opposite. I think you mentioned this, but this is the final tracking poll from NBC 10 in Boston, Suffolk University polling. They've been doing this every night since Iowa, and this morning their final poll comes out, Trump at 60%. That's the best he's done in this tracking poll. Haley is up a little bit, too, from last week, but overall the margin has grown for Trump over the course of the last week. One possibility, look, to be honest, DeSantis wasn't registering much in New Hampshire. He was getting about 5% before he dropped out. So it may be less DeSantis supporters moving to Trump's column. There is a little bit of that. But the other thing is just think about the context of this. Trump has been rolling out in the last few days. His strategy is major endorsements, including some from Haley's home state of South Carolina, to try to really produce that feeling among Republicans that he's inevitable, that the train's leaving the station, that this is the time to get on board. And I think it raises the question, DeSantis dropping out the Sunday night before the primary, getting a ton of attention, endorsing Trump while he was at it. Does that reinforce to voters who maybe weren't quite sold on Trump in New Hampshire that, yeah, this is happening, this is inevitable, and they end up kind of moving towards him? I think that's a possibility here, at least.
We keep talking about New Hampshire's independent voters, which Haley is counting on. What are her chances of actually gaining their support?
She would need to make massive gains from what we're seeing in the polls among independents. That's not to say she's doing poorly among independents. You can see here, again, from this tracking poll, she's leading by 12 points among independents in New Hampshire. Usually, that would be a that'd be a great number in a Republican primary. Winning the independents usually means winning the primary. The problem for Haley is, look at this, among Republicans, she's getting absolutely stomped here. 42 points is the margin for Trump. So quite honestly, if Haley's going to pull off a surprise tonight, she needs a huge number of independent voters just to turn out and be part of the mix. We've seen that before, but then she needs them to break for her, not by 12 points, not by 22, not by probably 40 points. That could get her into the game. And even then, this 24 is probably too low. She'd probably have to get that closer to 30 among Republicans. It's an extremely tall order, but that's what it's come down to. That's what she needs to pull a rabbit out of the hat. She'll need something like that.
So, Steve, if we look ahead, the South Carolina primary will take place next month. First, I guess one of the questions is, how does she do over the next few weeks in terms of if she stays in the race? But that's, of course, Haley's home state where she was governor. Is there any indication that today's New Hampshire results could give us a preview of what to expect in South Carolina, especially, as you mentioned, as we've been seeing some endorsements for the former president from that state?
Yeah, and that's the problem for Haley. You think of South Carolina, her home state, and you say, well, if she gets through New Hampshire, it'll be better for her in her home state. There's no indication of that. You just take a look. These are the sort of demographic and ideological profiles of the first three states, Iowa, New Hampshire, then South Carolina. And just take a look at what an outlier New Hampshire is today. The evangelical vote, a clear majority in Iowa. Look at this. It's a super majority in South Carolina. Independents, who we were just talking about, not a big part in Iowa, not a big part in South Carolina, but a very big part typically in New Hampshire. Moderate voters, Haley's been doing well with them. Look at that number, nearly 30% in New Hampshire, single digits in Iowa, 17 in South Carolina. The mix that Haley needs to succeed is there in New Hampshire on paper. If she can't win here and get momentum out of this that would maybe transfer to South Carolina and get her a second look there, the mix in South Carolina, even though it's her home state, is very unfavorable to her.
All right, Steve Kornacki, we so appreciate you on a primary morning. Thank you so much for stopping by.
You got it.
We're going to have live coverage from New Hampshire, of course, throughout the day here on NBC News Now. And a programming reminder, we will bring you the results as they come in. Our colleagues Kristen Welker, Tom Yamas, and Hallie Jackson will break down the race. Our primary night coverage begins tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific time.
Much of the country looking for a break from the brutal cold.
NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns is back with us this hour with a look at what is in store for the week ahead. Hello, Bill.
Hello again. And umbrellas are replacing winter coats and gloves in many areas of the country. All of a sudden, we're back to that weather pattern that we had at the start of winter, which wasn't a lot of snow and just a whole lot of warmth and rain. So as yesterday, it was in San Diego, 2.73 inches, January record, and about a quarter of their yearly rainfall. And it wasn't just San Diego. It poured throughout all the desert Southwest and even through Arizona. So January deluge. So we have one storm after another. Our active storm track is taking the storms from California, dipping them down through Texas, picking up Gulf of moisture, Mexico moisture, and then bringing the storms up through the east. And along with all this moisture will come a flood threat over the next couple of days, especially throughout areas of Texas, Louisiana. So storm 1, storm 2, storm 3, as we go throughout the next couple of days. It's going to, this will be one of those periods where a lot of people are like, I don't think I've seen the sun in like a week. That's what we're going to deal with. So this is how much rainfall we're expecting over the next 7 days. When you start to see this darker color, that's 5 inches of rain is likely So if we have 5 inches likely, there'll be isolated spots that could get 6, 7, 8 inches of rain in between New Orleans and Houston, Louisiana, southern Arkansas. That's why we have the concern there for flash flooding. And of course, we have flood watches up for about 11 million people here from Birmingham all the way over to Lufkin and Tyler, Baton Rouge included in this too, up to Alexandria. So as far as the forecast goes for today, you notice temperatures are definitely on the mild side for this time of year, just about everywhere. We have a little bit of ice and snow heading for areas of New Hampshire late today. This will not be a big deal. Many of the roads should be just fine with these temperatures. And then tomorrow we're watching temperatures getting very warm up the East Coast. And I know off camera we were talking about when will winter return. So I went and put this together for you. This is the warmer and colder than average. So if you see the blue, that would be colder than average. The red is warmer than average. I couldn't find anywhere to put my blue text. There was nowhere on the map that I could put the blue text. So, yes, it is going to stay warm for a while.
Wow.
Yikes.
All right. Well, you know, look at the pros. You don't have any pros.
Look, I get it. I'm not looking for it to be like
exercise.
feels like negative 20 or something, but you know, it just doesn't feel right. That's all. It's January. Thanks, Bill.
Your map, Bill. Thank you for doing that
Thank
for
you.
us.
Well, Israel says its troops have encircled the city of Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, which the UN says has been the scene of some of the worst fighting in the conflict with Hamas. It comes after Israel said that Monday was the deadliest day for its troops since the war began. NBC News foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest here. Hi, Raf. Thanks for being here. So the UN issued a new warning about the humanitarian situation in Khan Yunis as well as its hospitals. What is the latest there, and what are we hearing also from Israelis about their deadliest day that I just mentioned?
So, Savannah, the fighting is raging in Khan Yunis. This is the biggest city in southern Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of people had fled the north, hoping that they would be safe there, and the war has come to them in a big way. And specifically, it is raging in the streets around the Al-Nasser hospital, which is the last major hospital still functioning in Gaza. Our team was inside that hospital yesterday. They sent us some truly haunting images, waves of wounded people coming in. One image that will stay with me, a 7-year-old girl's ponytail that had been chopped off by surgeons who were treating her for shrapnel wounds, lying on the floor of the emergency room. Doctors say they are completely overwhelmed. The Israeli military is ordering people to evacuate from the area around the hospital. We've been asking them all morning, are you telling people to get out of the hospital itself? They're not giving a clear answer on that. But as we've seen, evacuating a hospital is a very, very difficult thing to do. You have prematurely born babies in incubators. You have people hooked up to dialysis machines. It is not a straightforward thing to do at the best of times. These are not the best of times. In terms of Israeli losses, the Israeli military says 21 soldiers were killed yesterday in a single incident. They were inside 2 houses fairly close to the border with Israel. They were preparing to plant explosives in those houses to blow them up. And they are saying a Hamas rocket-propelled grenade was fired at them. It appears to have triggered those charges, blowing it up. This is a country really in shock this morning. We've been hearing from Prime Minister Netanyahu, other national leaders, about the scale of the loss there. Guys.
Raf, also talk to us about what NBC News is learning about an Israeli proposal. This is for a 2-month pause in fighting in exchange for the release of all hostages. Where is that at? What is the likelihood of that? How is the negotiation happening?
Yeah, so 2 Israeli officials say that they have sent that proposal to Qatar, who will send it on to Hamas. We haven't heard anything from Hamas. We do know that the 2 sides have been very far apart, and they've been far apart for a long time now. Hamas has been saying no hostages will be released until the war ends. Israel saying the war will not end until Hamas is destroyed. And then you have Qatar in the middle trying to bridge the gap here. I can tell you guys, for the families of the hostages, their frustration has been mounting with the Israeli government. They want the government to make a deal, and they want them to make it now. Guys.
Raf, we're also watching the spillover effects of this war in Yemen, where the U.S. and the U.K. have carried out even more strikes on Houthi rebels there. Tell us the latest and the concerns here for the sparking broader violence.
Yeah, so this was the largest wave of strikes in more than 10 days. It involved both U.S. and U.K. warplanes and cruise missiles. They say that they hit a number of missile sites, radar sites, weapons depots. But the big question, guys, are these strikes actually going to stop the Houthis' attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea? Every indication we have so far is that they are not succeeding in that. The Houthis remain defiant. And you actually heard President Biden asked at the White House a couple of days ago, are these strikes succeeding? He said no, but he said that they're going to continue anyway. Guys?
All right, Raf Sanchez, thank you so much.
We got much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the trial of one of the high-profile school shooter's parents and how it could affect future gun violence cases here in America.
But first, after the break, the crisis of violence that's engulfing Haiti that's now drawing response from the Pope. We'll tell you about it next. Welcome back. The Pope is pleading for the release of 6 nuns and other hostages who were kidnapped on a bus in Haiti on Friday by armed gunmen. That is according to Catholic Church officials. This is the latest incident in a volatile few years for a nation gripped by gang violence. NBC's Guad Venegas has the latest.
Residents in the Haitian capital of Port-au-Prince forced to shelter in place after a new wave of gang violence erupted across several neighborhoods in the small Caribbean nation. Footage showing streets blocked off by burning tires and rocks covered by plumes of black smoke in the sky. This woman saying she had to leave after armed gangs took over her house, but then found herself inside an invaded neighborhood once again and now has nowhere to go. It's estimated gangs control up to 80% of Port-au-Prince and are suspected of killing nearly 4,000 people and kidnapping another 3,000 last year. Gangs gain power over a nation trying to get back on its feet after the assassination of its president, Jovenel Moïse, in 2021. On Friday, armed gunmen stopping a bus and taking a group of people, including 6 nuns, that were part of the country's congregation of the Sisters of St. Anne, according to the Haitian Conference of the Religious. Over the weekend, Pope Francis pleading for their safe return.
Prego per la concordia sociale nel paese e invito tutti a far cessare le violenze che provocano tante sofferenze a quella cara popolazione.
Despite the dangers and the security issues in Haiti, a lot of nonprofits continue to operate. What is your advice to them at this point?
Groups like that are maybe the only thing that are stopping Haiti from becoming a truly failed state. With these nuns being kidnapped, the gangs don't necessarily, they're not going to leave you alone just because you're doing good for their country.
Our thanks to Guad Venegas for that report. Well, Haiti is waiting for a multinational armed force led by Kenya to be deployed to fight those gangs. That was approved by the UN Security Council back in October. A judge in Kenya, though, is expected to issue a ruling Friday regarding an order that's currently blocking that deployment. Coming up, gun violence in America is back in focus this morning as the parents of one high-profile school shooter head to trial today. So what are they being charged with, and how could it impact other cases like it? We'll break all that down next. Welcome back. Jury selection is set to begin in the first of 2 separate trials for the parents of Ethan Crumbley. Crumbley was 15 when he killed 4 students at Oxford High School in 2021. NBC News correspondent Adrian Broaddus joins us now from Pontiac, Michigan, with the details of a case that could pit the 2 parents against one another. Adrian, good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you. This is an unprecedented case. Parents of a convicted school mass shooter on trial. James and Jennifer Crumbley each face 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter. This after their son Ethan shot and killed 4 of his classmates at Oxford High School. It happened here in Michigan back in 2021. And today, Jennifer starts trial first. This morning, history unfolding in a Michigan courtroom. Jennifer Crumbley, the mother of convicted school shooter Ethan Crumbley, starts trial. Her husband, James Crumbley, also facing manslaughter charges, will be tried separately. In 2021, Ethan Crumbley opened fire at a suburban Michigan high school, killing 4 students and injuring several others. Prosecutors say he used a semi-automatic handgun purchased by his dad as an early Christmas gift days before the shooting. Crumbley, 15 at the time, posting online, quote, "Just got my new beauty today."
The terror that he caused in the state of Michigan and in Oxford is a true act of terrorism.
Prosecutors also say there were warning signs days before the shooting when a teacher saw Crumbley searching for ammunition online. His parents allegedly dismissed calls from the school at the time. Authorities say Jennifer Crumbley sent a text saying, quote, "LOL, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught." And the day of the attack, a teacher discovering hand-drawn images of a gun pointing at the words, quote, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me." Then both parents were called to the school, but prosecutors say they declined a request to take Ethan home. Crumbley, who was charged as an adult, received a life sentence without parole last month. Victims testified at his sentencing in December.
Justin told us he was in the bathroom with the shooter. The next text we got from him after was, quote unquote, "I love you guys." Little did I know that would be my last text I ever received from Justin.
But in newly revealed court documents, Crumbley is appealing the sentence, and his attorneys now say he will be advised to resist testifying in his parents' trials. Vin Johnson represents 2 students killed by Crumbley and others who escaped.
Those parents sat in that room with the administrators and didn't tell them about the gun, didn't tell them about all the problems that this kid was having at home, didn't tell them about any of this.
He says these families believe Jennifer and James Crumbley should be held accountable. Meanwhile, we have not heard from the attorneys representing the parents. A gag order issued in 2022 bans them from speaking about the case publicly. We also haven't heard from the lawyers representing Ethan. Savannah?
All right, Adrian, thank you so much. Let's now bring in NBC News legal analyst Angela Sanadella for more on this unusual, sort of unprecedented case, I believe. But that's where I want to start with you, Angela. Thanks for being here. So how rare is it to see not one, but both parents, but also even just one, actually being held accountable for their child's actions, especially when it comes to something like a school shooting? Is there any precedent for this?
No, there's not. So you're right. It is absolutely unprecedented. It is historic. And if the prosecution is successful here, it's certainly possible it could be used as a framework in the future for other school shootings. But I also think it's important to note that the prosecutor here said that all parents should not be held responsible. It's that the fact pattern here was so egregious. She used the word unconscionable. And the reason is because she says they knew of the mental health concerns. And instead of addressing them, they went out and they bought him a gun that he used to commit this shooting.
Yeah, it's certainly, when you hear a lot of those details, just so disturbing. We don't have any full details yet about how these trials are going to look. But one question, is there a strategy in requesting separate trials? Like we said, just the mother's begins today. Why are they not being tried together?
So when co-defendants are put on trial, they always have the request, the ability to ask the court to separate their trials if they feel their defenses are different or if one would prejudice the other. So it is very possible here that they would be pointing fingers at the other, claiming that the other person was just that much more responsible. Which parent is the one who actually bought the gun? Which one left the gun unsecured? These are big questions with the negligence aspect, which is what involuntary manslaughter is based on.
So lawyers for the Crumbleys say that they do intend to call their son Ethan to the stand for either one or both of these trials. We did just hear, though, in that story from our colleague Adrian here about the fact that now if he's appealing his sentence, he may be advised not to. What do you make of that? Do you think we will hear from him? And what would we expect, especially if the parents are choosing to call him up, that they think could be helpful here?
So I'll tell you what I thought we would expect prior to this appeal, and that's that in Ethan Crumbley at the sentencing, he took full responsibility. He said, it was not my parents' fault at all. It was entirely my parents' fault. So you'd expect him to testify on the behalf of his parents to say they didn't do anything wrong. It was entirely me. But I think it all comes down to these mental health concerns. Given that the prosecution here has to prove mental health in order to prosecute the parents, it's possible this appeal could be based on mental health. So what I mean by that is Ethan Crumbley then can't get on the stand here and say it was all my fault and take responsibility.
Angela Senadella, a lot to unpack there. Definitely something we will keep watching and I'm sure discuss with you again. Thank you for joining us. Coming up, we've got some pretty troubling new data on America's job market. Layoffs reportedly surged last year. But why was that? Which industries were hit the hardest? And can we expect even more cuts this year? We've got some answers for you up next. We're back now with a look at the labor market. As a recent report shows, layoffs surged last year. The leadership development and executive coaching firm called Challenger Gray and Christmas found that companies planned more than 721,000 job cuts in 2023. And that is a 98% increase from the cuts announced in 2022. So what does this mean for job cuts this year? Well, for more, let's bring in Johnny C. Taylor Jr. He is the CEO of the Society for Human Resource Management. Johnny, thanks very much for being with us. So first, just tell us, why did we see such a spike in job cuts last year, and which industries were most impacted?
So totally predictable. Right after COVID, if you recall, we're in the middle of the Great Resignation. The economy was on fire as we came out of COVID 21, 22, and employers overhired. In fact, every time we see a statement from the CEO announcing job cuts, they admit, like we overhired. Just read Wayfair's letter the other day, and they literally said, I overhired. So that's partly is we're settling back into what is the norm.
And in what industries did we mostly see this?
Yeah, listen, technology is really taking the hit. Retail is taking a hit. Those are your two biggest areas. We're seeing healthcare firms, financial firms, professional services firms generally, where people are driving the business, is where we're taking the biggest hits.
What challenges do these big job cuts present ultimately at a company?
Right. So morale problems.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is if I'm sitting there, my employer announces a layoff, particularly when that employer has had a great prior year, then I now don't think I have job security. Talking about Google, you name an organization, you say, every indication is things are great, but they're laying off. So what message does that send to you? Even your star employees, maybe my job's not secure. And so they start looking.
It doesn't seem right like this is going away, at least not yet. I mean, we've seen Google CEO saying more job cuts are needed. Citigroup announced it's cutting 10% of its workforce. Amazon, you just mentioned Wayfair. We've seen Macy's. We've seen Sports Illustrated. Can we expect to see this continue throughout this year? And if so, I mean, how can companies try to help employees with the anxiety of wondering if, it's going to happen soon or next?
So every indication is that 2024, we're having a softening in the economy. We're seeing the quit rate, which is the rate at which employees quit their jobs. Those numbers are coming down. People are staying longer because every indication is that this is going to be a tough labor market year for employees in particular. Now, it's not great for employers. No one likes to terminate people or end their employment, but at the end of the day, more is expected to come. What do we as employers and what do we as SHRM advise employers to do? Keep your employees aware of how they're doing and how the organization is doing. Like, be honest. Too often when employees are really bothered is when they're surprised. Like, I thought everything was great and then it was over. It's like walking into your spouse is saying, I want a divorce after a great vacation, after a great party. You're like, where'd that come from? So what employers are encouraged to do is to be honest with their employees. If they see headwinds, they need to message those appropriately so that you don't create panic, but enough so that people know if my job is potentially at risk, I need to do some things to make sure that I can protect my livelihood, either at the company or elsewhere.
Yeah, really good advice. Johnny C. Taylor Jr., thank you very much for joining us on this, something a lot of people are thinking about and dealing with.
Thank you.
Let's stay on some financial news. Samsung is in a heated race against Apple to innovate health tracking tech. NBC's Silvana Henao is back with us this hour with that and other money headlines. Hey, Silvana, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning to you. Yeah, so Samsung is racing against Apple to develop a blood sugar monitor that's non-invasive and doesn't break the skin. Bloomberg reports the work is part of broader efforts to include health features in a range of devices, including the Galaxy Ring that Samsung unveiled last week. Now, the company aims to eventually give consumers a more complete assessment of their well-being through sensors on different parts of the body and around their home. Tracking health is a key selling point for smartphones and watches. Samsung, Apple, and Google use those features to attract and keep customers. Layoffs in the tech sector continue to mount this year. The latest, Riot Games, which makes League of Legends, is cutting 11% of its workforce. That's more than 500 people, as the company says it's refocusing on fewer high-impact projects. NPR reports TikTok is laying off about 60 U.S. employees, mostly from its sales and advertising division. So far this year, more than 10,000 tech jobs have been cut following the elimination of 260,000 in 2023. And unhappy employees are costing companies an estimated $1.9 trillion in lost productivity. Those are the findings of a new Gallup study, and it stems from more Americans feeling detached from their employers following the pandemic. The disruption of the past few years is reducing satisfaction in the workplace. More employees are saying they don't clearly know what's expected of them, which is prompting them to be less engaged in their work, Savannah.
All right, Silvana, thank you so much. Well, we want to get to some exclusive reporting on an important topic here at Morning News Now. Mental health. Crownsville Hospital in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, was one of the last segregated asylums in America. And now, 2 decades after it closed, the community is moving towards healing. That is the topic of our friend, NBC News correspondent and author Antonia Hilton's new book, Madness, Race and Insanity in a Jim Crow Asylum. It is out today. We are lucky enough to be joined on set by Antonia this morning. Antonia, first of all, just congratulations on your new book. And I know you're going to share this story with us. We're going to talk about the book on the other side and really dig in on it. But thank you for joining us this morning with the story.
Thank you for having me. This is a story that is very close to my heart. I think we're at this moment where people want to talk about mental health. And I hope that this history through the eyes of this one hospital in Maryland really helps people see, you know, if we go back, we can imagine a better system going forward. And that's exactly what this community in Maryland is going to do. They're going to take this sad chapter of history, this former segregated asylum, and turn it into a community space. Take a look.
Amazing.
In the heart of a forest in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, cadaver dogs search through the snow. They pause every time they identify a soul. Many were buried in this cemetery as numbers, not names, from their time as patients in a historic, segregated asylum that shaped the lives of locals like historian Janice Hayes Williams.
Is this land sacred to you?
100%. Yes, this is sacred.
Crownsville Hospital opened in 1911 and closed in 2004. For decades, it was the only place that accepted Black Marylanders suffering with mental illness. It was notorious for overcrowding and abuse, and as a symbol of America's racial divide.
If you lived here, this was a place you did not want to go. As a child, you were threatened by your parents or others. If you don't do what I tell you, I will send you to Crownsville.
With Janice's help, this land will become a 500-acre memorial park that turns dilapidated hospital buildings into mental health treatment spaces, public gardens, and biking paths. The need is great. Last year, a record number of Americans took their own lives. Anne Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman worked with Janice to secure $30 million in funding from lawmakers. What do you want people to see when they walk onto this property?
Great work being done by a lot of people from diverse backgrounds to make the human experience better.
Former Crownsville patient Reverend Sonia King shares that dream. She came to Crownsville when she was a college student battling a deep depression. It was stressful and overcrowded, but a team of nurses helped her recover.
It was hard. I was confused, didn't know if I could continue on.
What do you think the potential is for this land?
I think this land has great potential. Healing needs to occur, and from healing comes new growth.
Healing propels this project. Janice is the descendant of slaves who worked for the Maryland governor. County Executive Pittman, the descendant of those slave owners.
Do you think about that?
I think we wear that like a banner because we are truly this county.
Why do you think so many Americans are having a hard time having these conversations about history, collaborating with people who are different from them?
Fear of the unknown.
Reverend King has started to share her story.
Just because you go through something doesn't mean that's the end.
She hopes that this new memorial park becomes a model for our nation's healing.
What a great and timely story about something that's going to happen there. And it so coincides perfectly with this book coming out. First, congratulations.
Thank you.
Is it true this was your college thesis? This is how this began?
Yes, I started this work at about 19 years old, so it's been a while.
Which is
and
incredible.
I honestly, I came to my college campus wanting to learn more about mental health because I came from a very big family. I have 20-something cousins. I'm one of 7 kids. And the one topic all of us really struggled to talk about was our feelings and our mental health. I came from a family that had some shameful experiences with the mental health system, loved ones who had spent time in facilities like this one. And so there was all that stigma that I think so many Americans can relate to, especially when you try to talk to your parents or grandparents, right? So I got to college and I was like, okay, I can study this by myself for the first time and nobody can stop me. And this story just really pulled me in. And at first it was this personal mission, but then I realized as a journalist, I think the rest of the country is ready to have this conversation too.
You talk about that stigma, which I think we all, in our personal relationships, familial, you might kind of brush up against that in your individual way. But it is certainly true as a larger conversation, the stigma that exists within communities of color when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Tell me about what you learned in your book writing on that.
Well, Savannah, one thing that I really took from this was a whole new level of empathy and compassion for people who are a little nervous about mental health care, or, communities that are slow to take up things like vaccines or don't feel close to the medical profession. When you see this history and you see how they were treated, this hospital was founded in 1911, and for years it was known for abuse, racial violence, and mistreatment of the patients. And frankly, they weren't getting much therapy or care at all. And so when you realize that, maybe my grandparents and my parents knew about this, maybe they heard the rumors. Black families in Baltimore, so many of them have connections to this hospital. And so that generational impact leads to a lack of trust. And, the flip side of that, right, is when you realize what went wrong, how you hurt people, you actually now know the path forward. You realize, okay, if I build relationships and we come up with solutions, maybe that's the way forward to build that trust and bridge those gaps.
What you just shared with us, the story that we watched right before you and I started talking, it's a beautiful story that ultimately comes to this place of healing. We see that relationship between those two people that you featured in your story, which is just incredible, the bridge that they've built between each other. But your book has a lot of darkness in it. It's digging in on some of the horrors, really, that took place there. What was it like to uncover some of those?
Personally, it was really hard. Sometimes you come across these stories of patients that are just heartbreaking, and you can't imagine how anybody would allow that to happen. But the truth is I have traveled this country as a journalist, and I talk to people of every racial background about mental health. I think everyone has a story about a loved one or an older relative who maybe was sent to a place like this and kind of disappeared, and the family didn't talk about it. And that's what was happening here. Patients would end up at Crownsville for decades, and they wouldn't be taken care of properly. I write at one point a story about a man who is brought to Crownsville, picked up by authorities because they think he is speaking in a fake British accent. It turns out, after one Black nurse, who's one of the first people to integrate the hospital, she gets to know him, and it turns out he is from London and was a jockey and had come to the United States and hit hard times, but that was his real accent. And that was the only reason he was sent to the asylum. And so you hear stories like that and you realize just how much pain and loss happened in spaces like this. But there were also the heroes who came to work every single day, who did everything they could to save people. And for me, the major takeaway has been a lot of this isn't rocket science. We could all start by just listening, being patient with and kinder to some of our neighbors and friends and colleagues, and that would change a lot of mental health outcomes in the U.S.
What a great message, something we can all definitely play our part in. Antonia Hilton, congratulations again. This important book, Madness, out today. Thank you very much for joining us. You can check it out, Madness, Race and Insanity in a Jim Crow Asylum, again, on shelves today. Antonia, thank you so much. Congrats. We're so happy for you. Coming up, something a little bit lighter this Tuesday morning. Oscar nominations just dropped, and we've got you covered after the break. Which film scored, which got snubbed. We'll let you know. Stay with us. That's up next.
Welcome Welcome back. Nominations for the 96th Annual Academy Awards have just been announced. There were definitely some surprises, some snubs, but as expected, Oppenheimer picked up the most noms of any film this year.
Yeah, actually, we're kind of surprised by some of the snubs. So we're going to get into this. This just happened moments ago. This announcement was just made in Los Angeles, and right now we are lucky enough to get to start talking about it.
And we're joined by Jacqueline Coley with Rotten Tomatoes. Good to have you with us. You are like us. You are digesting it all right now.
It is so quick. Like, I literally was counting it up, but I think we can officially say, yeah.
We don't do math, so it's kind of hard for us to have to do it on the fly. I can't speak for you. Perhaps you do. Biggest headline right now, most noms.
Yeah, breaking it's Oppenheimer with 13, leading all nominations. And I think everyone was sort of expecting a Barbenheimer showdown, but I think I'm only counting maybe 5 or 6 for Barbie, and that's a pretty big stark contrast from what I thought.
And that's a headline. There's some Barbie snubs, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I would go ahead and say, first of all, Best Actress Margot Robbie was not nominated. Annette Bening gets in as a great surprise win, but producing, being Barbie herself, it's named Barbie, but Ken makes it in and she doesn't. Also, the director, Greta Gerwig, did not get a director nomination, but it was not an all-male director class because we did have Justine Triet on that one.
That's always a big question, too, with the directors and things like that. And on the flip side with Barbie, though, it's kind of a surprise who did get in, right?
Yeah, America Ferrera. She gave this great and incredible speech at the Critics' Choice Awards a few weeks back, and I think that sealed it for her on this one. Doing Gloria, getting that supporting actress nomination, it was a really great performance for her.
Oh, I am still digesting the Margot Robbie, Greta Gerwig news. Let's specifically talk about Best Picture. 10 nominees. What's standing out to you?
Honestly, this is a carbon copy of the PGA nominations. I think the most notable thing is this is the first time we've had 3 non-English language Best Picture nominations with Past Lives, Anatomy of the Fall, and Zone of Interest. The high watermark before this had been 2, and so having all 3 of these this year really, I think, sort of signifies what Janet Yang was talking about at the top, which is the global audience of the Academy Awards.
All right, we kind of talked vaguely about snubs and these, but to actually look at Best Actress and Best Actor and see what's in there, some things predicted, but not everything. Let's start with Best Actor, right? What do you see there?
So Best Actor was fairly predictable. I think a lot of folks, after he didn't get a SAG nomination, expected that Leonardo DiCaprio wouldn't make this list, but it's really great to see both Coleman Domingo and Jeffrey Wright in there in the lead actor category. Both of them, I would say, journeyman character actors getting their first Oscar nominations and starring roles.
And this is kind of a 2-person race right now, it looks like,
yeah,
right?
It definitely is between, really, we're looking at either, I would say, Paul Giamatti or Cillian Murphy. Those are the 2 front runners. And then on the actress side, Annette Bening. Like, she is Naiad, got both nominations for her and Jodie Foster.
Yeah, wow.
She was sort of the one name that, if you had to say, maybe pushed out Margot Robbie. But so glad to see Lily Gladstone. That also makes history, I think, as only like the 2nd woman of Indigenous descent to be nominated for an Oscar after Alicia Aparicio for Roma.
Is Emma Stone kind of a favorite there, as we've seen?
Emma Stone is definitely going to be a favorite in that category, but going against Lily, I think, you know, the 2 of them, she won the Golden Globe in the drama category, Emma won in the comedy, and then Emma won it at the Critics' Choice, but we still have the BAFTAs and a lot more time in between.
Absolutely. Let's talk supporting roles.
Supporting. Now, this is one where I'm very excited on the actor side. Sterling K. Brown is an Oscar-nominated actor. I'm so excited for this one. He, along with Ryan Gosling and Robert Downey Jr., who have been assumed the front runners of that category, and Mark Ruffalo. It was the 2 for combination of Willem Dafoe and Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things, but it
Willem got knocked out.
Yeah, Willem got knocked out. But I'm
Mark
happy.
Ruffalo was incredible in that movie.
He really was incredible.
Yeah. All right, and actress, supporting
actress, which has kind of been a runaway this year, but I guess it's, you know.
Yeah, supporting actor, definitely surprising to see America Ferrera on there, but we do have Danielle Brooks. We also have Divine Joy Randall, who is the front runner and pretty much swept every prize.
And is likely going to do the same again. Is there anything else that stands out? There are more categories. We tend to focus on these ones.
I mean,
but
besides Justine Triet in the director category, she won the Palme d'Or and sort of covered her bet here, but she was not the selection for Best International Feature in France. It was actually The Taste of Things, and that name was not called this morning. So interesting that she was a chance to be the French nominee, but was actually not. Another one I think that is really great to see, too, is in the song category, Killers of a Flower Moon. That song was nominated along with Robbie Robertson's score, which is a posthumous award.
And we also have the 2 Barbie songs, if I recall.
Yeah,
right?
the 2 Barbie songs. I'm Just Ken and What Was I Made For? And I think this is going to be a 2-person race in that one. Ken won the Critics' Choice, and Billy has been sort of sweeping up the other prizes.
Yeah, we saw Billy. I'm Just Ken, though. I mean,
I know. It's so key to this song, but What I Was Made For is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful song. All right.
Jacqueline Coley, thank you so much. That's always exciting. It's live. It's happening right now. We figured it out. Some snubs. Really, I'm like so shook by the Margot Robbie thing. Thank you so much for joining us.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.